Odin's personal appearance. None but Odin and his wife and queen, Frigga, were privileged to use this seat, and when they occupied it, they generally gazed towards the south and the west, the goal of all the hopes and excursions of the northern nations. Odin was generally presented as a tall, vigorous man, about 50 years of age, whether with dark curling hair or with a long gray beard and a bald head. He was clad in a suit of gray, with a blue hood, and his muscular body was enveloped in a wide blue mantle flecked with gray, an emblem of the sky with its fleecy clouds. In his hand, Odin generally carried the infallible spear, Gungnir, which was so sacred that an oath sworn upon its point could never be broken, and on his finger or arm he wore the marvelous ring, Draupnir, the emblem of fruitfulness, precious beyond compare. When seated upon his throne or armed for the fray, to mingle in which he would often descend to earth, Odin wore his eagle helmet. But when he wandered peacefully about the earth in human guise, to see what men were doing, he generally donned a broad-brimmed hat drawn low over his forehead to conceal the fact that he possessed but one eye. Two ravens, Hugin, or thought, and Munin, or memory, perched upon his shoulders as he sat upon the throne, and these he sent out into the wide world every morning, anxiously watching for their return at nightfall, when they whispered into his ears news of all they had seen and heard. Thus he was kept well informed about everything that was happening on earth. Hugin and Munin fly each day. Over the spacious earth I fear for Hugin that he come not back, yet more anxious I am for Munin. Norse Mythology, R.B. Anderson. At his feet crouched two wolves or hunting hounds, Gary and Freaky, animals which were therefore considered sacred to him, and of good omen if met by the way. Odin always fed these wolves with his own hands from meat set before him. He required no food at all for himself, and seldom tasted anything except the sacred mead. Gary and Freki, the war-wont sates, the triumphant sire of hosts, but on wine only, the famed in arms, Odin ever lives. Lay of Grimnir, Thrope's translation. When seated in state upon his throne, Odin rested his feet upon a footstool of gold, the work of the gods, all of whose furniture and utensils were fashioned either of that precious metal or of silver. Besides the magnificent hall Glads-heim, where stood the 12 seats occupied by the gods when they met in council, and Valexgalf, where his throne, Hidsgalf, was placed, Odin had a third place in Asgard, situated in the midst of the marvelous grove Glacier, whose shimmering leaves were of red gold. So that was Odin's personal appearance, the second section of Chapter 2 of Myths of the Norsemen by Helene A Guerber, Odin. I will be working my way through this book section by section, and if there are any other public domain books that you would like for me to read, please leave a comment below. Thank you for listening, and have a lovely evening.